All right, excellent, cool. Let me get my setup ready. Ah, Magic. Hello, everyone. This is Rap Raven, your host of the Betterment Broadcast. Going to switch to our PDF. Very important. There you go. Show 64. 64, very lucky number. Very important number 64. Very ultra number. Very cool. Right. Yes. So where are we today? Yes. All right. So we're going to go through. We're going to have a fantastic show. Last week, this is part two, by the way. Last week we had a very decent, marvelous show. We had to cut. I went over by a bit. We had to cut. So hopefully this time we can make the intro a bit more quicker, and maybe invite people to review some of the videos with me. That might be an idea. Perhaps see what happens. Um, so this is Rap Raven, your host of the Black Baron Broadcast. Now we're going to go through our tradition of how we set up the show. So let me get this ready. Give me 17 seconds. There you go. Voila, voila. All right. So after much research, I've unfortunately concluded that currently Black people are collectively inadequate. Very upsetting to many to find that out. When it comes to work as a team, as a collective, Black people seem to struggle, and this is something that we need to review. And today's show might even be a further highlight of that, or maybe not. We don't know. We're going to find out. All right. So obviously, this is more important today than any other day, but we're going to be sending out the view to talk about very touchy topics in certain aspects, and we definitely would like to try to keep the 4D values up when we invite people in. And those 4D values are discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. Yes, discernment. Good. Exactly. So discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. That's the 4Ds. So feel free to use these in your life when you're trying to help Black people. It might make it slightly more easier. And maybe try to incorporate them just day to day. That might be even more easier as well. Who knows? Let's see what happens, shall we? And also, if we can also maybe not use derogative language, more descriptive language. Um, it's very challenging, very challenging. I know, especially if you grew up that way. But when you're trying to find solutions, it's probably best not to do that, as I found out. If you have if you're watching this after it's been live and it's been uploaded, feel free to pause it now and look at some of the words you can use instead of some words that people use. And they're on the screen at the moment. We're going to move on. And now, cool. Okay, what is Black Bearman? It's Black people helping Black people on Black issues for Bearman. That's what it is. That's what Black Betterment is. All right. Very simple. So we break that down. Black Betterment is a lifestyle. Voila. Yay. Good stuff. So this entire broadcast is about the lifestyle of Black Betterment, promoting it and seeing if we can influence to influence others, that kind of stuff. This might is one solution of how to fix many Black challenges. I'm sure you guys have others, but this is one. Right. So before we get to the topic, let me read this. This is very important today as well, to be honest. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107, the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, personal use tips to balance in favor of fair use. So basically, what that means is we're going to be using people's videos, and it's not ours. We're just going to use it for educational purposes and all that good stuff. But the thing is, today, sometimes people have these kind of algorithm flaggers on their content because they're unaware that people might be using for news purposes, and they have an automated device that automatically just disconnects your video from the internet if you do it, as you all probably know. So that's why I would say watch this live, because they can't really catch it live. And then, by the time we realize they're flagged it or whatever it is, we have to cut it, and then you might miss a piece of the show, which is unfortunate, but that's the time we're in, techno jargon, that good stuff. So I've actually tried to, because we're not making any money from the show, and because we're doing it for education purposes, I've taken a video from somewhere else, and I've tried to do my own remix algorithm on it, just to, well, technically it is a new piece of media now, because it's completely changed, but it's more so the algorithms doesn't pick it up. Because the algorithms don't discriminate. They don't know what we're doing. They just see certain things and they cut it down. That might make our journeys ever so slightly harder. All right, so we're going to ignore this for now. Let's ignore that one. So basic thing now, remember, error prone and high principled. When we're practicing Black Betterment, we want to try to be as high principled as possible and try to stay away and stir away from error prone behavior. if we can. If we can. All right, now just definitions now before we actually get to what the heart of the show is. I'll come back to this towards the end as well. It's very important we understand this. So basically, what are we talking today? Today, make sure I'm getting texts. Make sure everything's good. Voila, voila, voila. Excellent. Sounds good. There you go. Thank you. Yeah. So basically, there's two types of black betterment kind of identified operators. Actually, that's the word. Maybe people doing stuff, right? So the first one is the black betterer. And the black betterer, that is a black betterer is a black person practicing a lifestyle choice involving dedication to enhancing the livelihood of black people, specifically locally and globally in all areas of people activities whenever it's constructively possible. So basically, that's what it is, right? And then we have the more what do you say? I don't know, not entry level, but less dedicated than that one. We have the Black Betterment Builder. And the Black Betterment Builder is a black person practicing lifestyle choice involving dedication to enhancing the livelihood of black people, specifically locally and globally in one or more areas of people activity. So basically that means that some people, they can't dedicate their entire lifestyle of helping black people for whatever reason it might be. And so they decide to just do it, one or two things, isn't it? And on the next page here, we slide over how that breaks down. So if you're a black betterer, you're dedicated to black love, trying to partner and marry black people. That's always a good idea. A dedication to black economics, very good idea as well. Teaching black people important skills, joins or creates black networks, very important. Promotes black betterment, of course, and then promotes high principle behavior for black people. All right, so that's a black betterer. That is what black betterers are going to do, and some other things and all that good stuff. But generally, that 24 dedication to helping black people. Well, now the black betterment builder, they might not do any of that other stuff. They might be, they can't do that, whatever it is, or they don't feel they can. But they do, does at least one activity that is dedicated to black betterment. And i.e., I put there should be a lot there. I.e., set up classes to train computer programming to black children. So, just say some guy or a lady says, I'm going to set up a class to help black people in this particular area learn how to program, or maybe use a Raspberry Pi and make robots or whatever it is you do, that kind of stuff. Then that person could be considered black betterment builder because they have identified and confessed that they're going to try to help black people in this area specifically. One of the problems we have with black people is we have been trained not to help black people. It's very, very good training, one of the best training I've seen in life. And if you ever follow me when I do live speaking, you realize that many black people feel intimidated to help themselves, ourselves, and to work as teams. Many black people have been trained to be subservient very well, one of the best subservient people in the world. So when you ever try to promote any kind of inwards rebuilding, they rebel. It's most unfortunate, but we have the grassroots here. We are level 1, and we're going to build up and just get rid of that terrible, terrible, terrible concept there. All right, and we're going to use black betterment as a way to do it, which is always fantastic. Yes, it is. All right, so I just broke down what black betterers and black betterment builders are, and we'll come back to that towards the end. All right, we researched the black men who separate from or hate black women and vice versa. So this must be a part 2. I should have put part 2 there, but I didn't. But this is part 2. Is it getting more difficult for black men and women to communicate to each other about challenges and expectations? So as you're well aware, if you're in this world at this moment, many dating and advice, podcasts and shows, and they usually specialize in how best to help black women or how best to help black men. And there is many black men who struggle, or just men in general, but let's just focus on black men who struggle to find women, or women that they find they can really build with. And then and the same goes to women. They find struggle to find constructive men who might raise to the task of being men and those kind of stuff. And then as time goes by, you get these division in kind of these YouTube and podcast kind of things where people are shouting at each other, and men jump on and they get cut off, and women jump on and they get cut off, and you generally don't see it made easy for men and women to communicate about being around each other and being together forever and a day. And it wasn't necessarily that way back in the day. They always say it, don't they? But so obviously certain things are happening. And we definitely want to facilitate that conversation to find out what is happening, if anything at all, to why so many black women struggle to find a good black man, and so many black men struggle to find a good black woman. It might be make believe, it might be some kind of propaganda, or it might be the something going on that we haven't really reviewed. So this, if you fall on this category, this particular show will be for you. Or if you're interested, this is what we're doing. But definitely within the context of this show, we want to try to establish ways of communicating that make it easy. Because what you'll find when you follow many of these kind of podcasts and stuff is the communication is very difficult, very difficult. And we're going to see if we can, find ways of behaving and acting that make that much more easier. Now, I believe the next thing is no, we're good. All right. So what I've done now is I have a video. Now, this is the thing. This is why I say watch videos live, because the algorithm could really cut and start chopping, and we have to chop things out. So I've basically taken a video of Dr. Umar talking on, I believe it's Fox Gold or something like this, to two black men who they didn't necessarily struggle to find black women, but they were talking about they're not with black women and why they're not, and I think the host was trying to establish, is it important or something like this. We'll find out when we play it, for black people to be with non-black people, something like this. I'll break it down when I play it because my memory's not as good as it once was. If anyone wants to jump in on this, just say hey, and I'll put the link and you can jump it down your 10 pence piece. But we're going to review, and what my area of interest is trying to find out how best black people can speak when on public platforms about black love and this kind of stuff. And also breaking down certain ideas that many black people have when they practice kumbayarism and they feel that's necessary. And I feel like black people are not necessarily in a position to be doing this. There we go. Big up IC3, bro, IC3. Now we're going to play the video. We're going to start and stop it. Let's see what we can learn from this concept. Go!
Environments where it may not necessarily
get. What you're gonna notice is I might stop a bit, but I've tried to, if don't be bewildered by the visuals. I've had to throw random visuals everywhere to hopefully throw off the algorithms, and I've had to imprint some kind of background sound. Now this sounds very James Bond-esque, or the black variant of that, but I've had to cut it. Now we're not using this for make money, we're using it for reporting purposes, so we should be okay. So we think. Go.
For other people to see, I think there's power.
Why should black people care about interracial relationships? Frederick, kick us off.
Now, if you can watch it, I've put some random images of the Huxtables from Bill Cosby. This wasn't me trying to do some kind of propaganda showing in the media good black couples. It was just a random video I had there that I used to help mask the algorithm, whatever. But I guess maybe it was maybe important. Maybe that was actually a good idea. I'll take credit for that.
Oh wow, keep it on. Well, I feel like black people should care about interracial relationships because they're important, right?
All right, so black people caring about interracial relationships because they're important. Now, I'm going to stop it and people talk now. One of the main things about Black Betterment is to actually talk about black people. So whenever you're not talking about black people and you're putting other concepts above that of black people, then it's almost like not relevant, you see? And sometimes we have to try to find scenarios where we can actually justify where things are not relevant or inappropriate. Now, I have no interest in condemning or giving medals for people who don't marry black people. It's just not what I'm saying. This is an age-old long thing, whatever. That's not my area of interest. My area of interest is black people getting on code and working in an adequate way that heightens the chance of betterment, and well-to-do black people or whatever going on TV constantly trying to convince people that it's a good thing to not marry a black woman, a black man. This is not, I don't think it's correct behavior. If you find yourself in these scenarios, you do what you do. No one can say you yay, nay, or yay, or whatever. But what I say is when we start promoting certain things, and we slightly sometimes go to undermining the importance of black love, then this is a recipe for a soon-to-be disaster, if not already. And we have to review that. The height of every conversation, I would say, is promoting constructive black man with constructive black woman to make constructive black families. The reason I have to say this is because this has been trained out of us. Every other people group understands this basic premise, but unfortunately, black people have been conditioned to not know this, and that is why when you look at people group challenges and stuff on the internet, when you type in words like pro-black and black power kind of stuff, you're always going to find things that say, "Can you be pro-black and with a non-black person?" Because this is the priority in many black circles, the ability to have access to non-black people, and this is where we have to kind of get our priorities right. Do what you want, but definitely understand that it's important for constructive black man to be with constructive black woman, to make constructive black families. Just a basic that we forgot. Most people don't want to hear it, but unfortunately, this is a code I have to keep to. If you don't know it, now you know. This is what it is, and hopefully, in the future time, people will tell you that, because that's just the basics. Now we carry on listening. Here we go for the gentleman.
It gives us an opportunity. Like, I'm an interracial relationship. My
brother is an interracial relationship. We could probably guessed it, to be honest.
So it gives us an important opportunity to be a bridge.
A bridge. Now, a bridge between what? We want to find out.
So we see ourselves as a bridge with so much divide going on. So
divide. Once again, like I said, the real way to fix challenges, as far as I can see it, is to fix in-house and then get your status and power up, and then you have more bargaining chips to fix certain things. It isn't by trying to leave the community and marrying other communities. You tend to find that most black people, this is the facts, are the most undesirable people in the world when you view it to other people groups. This reality doesn't matter when you have your inward power, meaning you have so much self-love and you have so much community love that what a person thinks doesn't matter, and you don't have to get the approval of another people group. This is a very easy thing to learn, someone would think, but sometimes we struggle with it, and that's why we have to teach one. Let's go.
We try to be that bridge for other people that have questions on other races.
None of that, not private. It's not primary. That's not even a tertiary importance when it comes to black betterment or building. Trying to appease other people who have had a history of hating you and not wanting you to be with their children, and now you're trying to convince them that you're worthy. Better you become worthy for a person in your own group. This is just the age-old strategy that always works well, but let's move on.
Other races and stuff like that. So we want to just be a bridge for them. We want to allow them an opportunity to ask the tough questions and be a positive light, and to be that backboard that they can
a bridge to.
All right, so obviously we want to make sure as many strong masculine brothers are not talking this way. All power to this brother. We definitely want to train our young brothers that this is not how you build a community, and it's very, 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 I don't know what the word is. I have to work up a word. I'm sure you guys can work up, but it isn't in black people's best interests to have so much focus on pleasing non-black people for the right to marry into their community. Just saying, if I'm wrong, let me know I'm wrong so I can be right. But just from studying history, that's not a good look, especially when you're the most collectively inadequate collective group out there currently. Not a very good mission.
The racial harmony?
Yes, a bridge to it. I mean, there's so much division, and in our relationships, we try to allow our relationship to be
focus on division within your own community first, because there's more than anywhere else. And this is a historical programming, but it can be reversed. Let's go.
An image of what it looks like for unity, right? Unity together.
Solidarity with black people is more important than unity of non-black people currently, because, it's just clean your own house before you clean your neighbor's house.
And coming together, and
also manage your resources.
You have differences.
Limited resources.
I have differences. I'm different than you, but we can come together and
focus on the ones who are not different, the ones who are similar. Easy strategy.
And have something that's beautiful, and that's our marriage.
Black love is beautiful.
Why should black people care about interracial relationships, Juice?
Really, it's like I'm not really into like preach or force my belief on someone, but it's like there's just so much focus on skin color, and I'm like, I feel like the focus, to me, again, is just my opinion, but I feel like the focus should be on someone's character first. And if the person's nice and you like them, then it makes sense to kind of want to be around them because they're nice people, regardless of what they look like. So, for me, it just makes sense to focus on someone's character first, then someone's appearance, skin color, and that.
Yeah, so, when you talk about marriage and these kinds of things, historically, community groups don't really do that. I think Disney and these kind of productions really put that kind of message out there, and you tend to find that in Disney, the same kind of people marry each other anyway. But I think when you talk to other people, they have a different concept of how relationships and marriage and this kind of things work. And I think, the kumbaya state, we need to really think about that, but we see what
that stuff. So, yeah.
Dr. Umar, let's get into it. Why should Black people care about interracial relationships?
Black people should care about interracial relationships for 3 reasons. Number one, when we go outside of our community to select our mates, we undermine the importance of the traditional Black family in the lives of Black people, and in particular, Black children. If Black boys don't see Black men being committed to Black women, they may be less inclined to do the same themselves.
There's very truth in that, as in the training, as in what you see in this kind of stuff.
There can be no nation without first having a strong Black family.
So that's what I've started by saying, that this is what it is. A nation or a collective group is a collection of husbands, wives, partners, children, this kind of stuff. Very important. I know we don't want to understand that, but this is how networks are important. Networks are important.
And the traditional Black family is under attack. And when we talk about interracial relationships in our community, we're overwhelmingly talking about Black men.
There's another thing. This is one thing we have to talk about as well. When we are talking about this kind of stuff, the kumbaya stuff, I get it. It makes sense in that Disney world, kumbaya, everyone loves everyone. But you have to look at the data, and you have to look at who is practicing certain things more than others. So when you look at that in all the diaspora, Black men seem to be underrepresented in certain areas and overrepresented in certain areas. And one area they're overrepresented is the speed, the killer speed of a millipede to not be with a Black woman. So either the world is just, that's a very natural thing, or there's some kind of programming going on. And if there is, this is the part of this show to find that program, try to fix it, because that isn't correct. If a Black person doesn't find interest in their equivalent, and then some might argue that there might be some unsynchronization things going on, or some problems with maybe Black men finding women or Black women finding men, and that's what we're going to review today. Is there issues? Is communication a challenge? Who knows? We're going to find today. Let's carry on listening.
It is Black men who marry outside of their race more than the men of every other race in this country put together as a percentage of their respective communities. 25% of all newlywed Black men in this past decade, were married outside of their race, 25%. And although we have seen an increase in Black women dating outside.
Now, what I'm going to do, I'm also going to place the link, because last time I spent too long talking and reviewing the stuff. So if anyone wants to jump in, click on the link, and they can also review this video and give their 10 pence piece and have an early talk now, just about some of the stuff they're seeing and their own opinions. And feel free if you want to. That's why it's always good to catch stuff live, because you can jump in and alter the course of the show. And also you get the show before it might get terribly taken off air for algorithm strikes. That's right. All right. So I have a sneak peek on the boutique, what they're saying.
Side of the race, it's only up to 12%. So interracial marriage in the Black community is overwhelmingly a Black male thing. How can we turn our backs on our women, which is a form of turning our backs on our community? And without question, it represents turning our backs on our children. Working in the schools, one of the big questions I always get from Black girls, 3rd graders, 4th graders, and 5th graders is, Dr. Umar, what's wrong with me? Why is it that so many Black men choose to marry someone who does not look like their mother?
Frederick, you said you're in an interracial relationship. Have you turned your back on the Black family?
No. How can I turn my back on my family? My family is a Black family. I grew up in a Black family. My mom is Black. My dad's Black. I'm Black. I am inherently Black. That my choice to marry my wife that isn't Black does not make me less Black. To think that the entire Black community is going to perish because of a decision I made.
No. So what we say is the individual actions, we can also look past it, but we have to look at patterns, you see. And if you do find that the majority of dark-skinned Black men are not choosing to be with Black women, then there's a pattern there, you see. And we have to find out what that pattern is. because most challenges we have, we rebrand it, and it also becomes a part of what I say is a benchmark rebranding. And this is like kumbayarism mixed with benchmark rebranding, where these patterns that don't work in the best interest of Black people, i.e., Black women struggling to find suitable partners, Black women being loyal but getting the least, and then we see a slew of Black men promoting interracial dating, but in a way where Black women just have to be humble and calm. And I think we have to review this and see if there is some kind of psychology training or something going on that is making Black men do this at this rate. And many people push forward low self-esteem, but we can't brush past that. Very interesting topic, very controversial topic, very taboo topic, but that's why we tackle it here. Let's go.
I don't think that's
All right, we have a guest now. We're going to introduce the guest because he might also want to join in, and he might offer a different perspective. Let me not a person. Let me not say he because I can't see it. Hello, welcome. Can you hear me?
Greetings, welcome.
Welcome. How do I pronounce your name, brother?
Larry.
Larry. All right, Larry. Is this your first time on the show, Larry?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Welcome. Okay, and I don't know if you catch the rules, but basically this is the Black Betterment broadcast, and we try to find solutions to Black challenges, and we definitely try to welcome opinions from all walks of life, but we also want to communicate respectfully as possible. This show is about Black men who find it challenging to talk to Black women, and Black women who find it challenging to talk to Black men, but also to a point where there is no longer communication, and to a certain extent, resentment and disdain is being built, and we're tackling it. And what we're doing, we're looking at one video here where two Black men have are interracially married, and I think the host is trying to find out, should Black people care about interracial marriage? Cool. Let's press play. And by the way, if you want to say anything, brother, you can say pause, and I'll pause it, and you can give your feedback. Is that cool?
Sure. Yeah. I was going to ask, is this going to be fun like the show you did where you had all those Black MPs with white wives? I don't know how you did that research, but it was hilarious. And you go, what's the pattern here?
Yes, there's patterns, and I'm glad you noticed that, bro. Before I press play, this is the thing with many of Black people collectively. What happens is we're so kind seeking that we will always see the good stuff in everything. So when we look at the happiness of Black people finding love outside the Black community, and more so Black men, to be honest. And then we look past why they might be feeling so happy, and the fact that many Black women, unfortunately, in the community might struggle to find any partners for many reasons, and so there's not a balance. Then there's a pattern. But let's just play and we shall talk. So if you want to just say pause, and I'll pause it. Let's go.
very that's a great that's not very reasonable to say, if that makes sense.
If I could push back respectfully, briefly, I would just say we have to look at the reality that Black women are more likely than any other women in this country to marry later in life. They're more likely to be married much shorter than other women, and they're more likely to not get married at all. Only 1 out of every 4 Black women in the United States will get married. So for a Black man to marry out of his race and not say that he does not bear any responsibility for the fact that Black women have such a difficult time finding a man who looks like them, who is willing to build a family with them, to say that it is not a form of betrayal on some level, I believe is politically disingenuous. Black people, with the history we have in this country, coming from slavery, through Jim Crow, through Willie Lynch, all the way up to today, we need each other. And it's important.
Do we need each other? Can you build a community if you're not together? Is that a possibility? That's something we have to think about. It's something that most people don't want to think about. We do have a collection of individualists, people who they want to live their own life. This is their freedoms. But if we have a mass movement of this kind of behavior, this would probably highlight why Black people have had so many challenges for so many years, And we have to ask, do other communities practice that same stuff? And just think, why? Is it because black people might be collectively inadequate currently? Who knows? Let's see.
To recognize that even when you date or marry outside of your race, the non-African that you're marrying, the white person or be the person of another culture, but particularly white people, they are still just as racist as other white people. There's this notion that when you marry or date a white person, that particular white person was more liberal than the other whites. The research does not bear that out. The research shows that they are just as racist as other white people. And
to say that, for me to say that every white woman, because I married a white woman, every white woman.
Now, it's enough to look at certain patterns, right? What's important is, when you are, trying to date people, you're always looking for, who you vibe with. I get this concept, right? But when you see that black people seem to have this higher rate of being with, say, European people, white people, right? Black men particularly, and black women, of course, vice versa. This then shows you that there is something going on there particularly. Like, when you not see, like, they're not picking the Bangladeshi woman, the dark-skinned Bangladeshi woman, then you got to think, okay, why is that? People say culture, who knows? But, there's many Bangladeshi women have similar culture, just as similar as the European, if not more. They can have certain spices more frequently. Maybe I'm being a stereotypical, who knows, right? Whatever. But so that's another thing you have to watch. Is that this combiasm? Is there a pattern there? Is there a pattern there where it just happens that the people group who enslaved, and you've watched their media productions for hundreds of years, and you've aspired to be in their theaters and on their shows and on their magazines and in their schools and stuff. Is there a coincidence that these are the people who you primarily pick for your partners, even though historically these were the people group who enslaved and massacred your family? I'm not trying to make this grim. I'm just saying that, remember, dealing with psychology, how people think that. I could be stretching, or maybe I'm onto something. Who knows?
My wife, every white woman or white person is inherently racist, I think is wrong, because you're not giving that person a chance to prove to you who they are. Like, if I take that notion, then that means that everybody that looks at me is going to think that I.
Something else as well. It's random. A lot of black people, they don't check their batteries on their fire alarm. It happens in the show as well. Check your batteries, people. You always hear ticking. Maybe because I'm a sound engineer, I hear things, but yeah, you always hear people's battery alarm going on all these shows and these shows. Please check it. Sometimes I think it's me, but it couldn't be me because I check it.
I'm inherently racist toward them because they're a different race. I like to give people a chance to prove to me who they are first.
Any thoughts, Larry? I guess I know you're coaching and relaxing. Anything so far that jumps out?
Yeah, true. I don't like Umar Johnson.
Okay,
right. Well, he did say something very powerful, saying that if a black man didn't marry a black woman, that he was politically betraying the black woman. I think he said something like that. So I guess he would think that if a black woman married outside of a race, she was politically betraying the black man. He said, I remember him saying that earlier, and I thought that was very, very strong, almost extreme to say that. I mean,
I guess it can.
To me, I'd rather, obviously, I always envisage myself getting married to a black woman with kids, obviously. I always see that, but I guess I just acknowledge in life that people can marry outside of their race. But the thing I found interesting was when you mentioned, is there a pattern? Because you said with the black race that, I think I'm paraphrasing, but you said we tend to do it more than the other races, which I thought was interesting. So it's almost as if, and you can correct me, you're thinking that it's psychological?
Yes.
Something psychological has happened. All right. I'd like to hear more of that because I find that's quite interesting.
Well, definitely. We unpack this here. From my research and just seeing how the patterns I generally think that there's a combination of, in some regards, self-hate, which some people you can blatantly see, but some people it is masked in certain ways, even to them to a certain degree. And in some cases, it's the aspiring to see what another group has marketed. So the white man has done a very, very good job of marketing his variant, the white woman, as the greatest woman on the planet. Very good job. And because black men are inadequate when it comes to like working as a team, marketing ourselves, we haven't really combated and marketed us in that same light. So many black men are tapped into that, where they go to work, they watch a show, they communicate, and all this branding, this social branding goes on, and before you know it, it's really in the subconscious. So a lot of these men actively look for non-black women, or maybe they might be more tolerant to a non-black person. Who knows, right? And this is what we see, but this is not the conversation we have. This is not the conversation we have. I think if we look at it from a standpoint that actually black men admire the work of white men, if we look at it from that angle, then that might make the conversation a bit more interesting, that actually it's the marketing process that a white man has done in his magazines, on the shows, and the blondes and brunettes, and this kind of European branding, coupled with the fact that white men actually produce white women. You see, they actually, like, it's a white man and a white woman that produce that reality, right? So really what we're finding is black men really appreciate what white men have done. Now, the reason why I'm interested in this is because, as from a black Betterment standpoint, my thing is, rather than appreciating what white men have done, why don't you as a black man build with other black men and do the black equivalent, or black better, you know? As in, place yourself and your women in a high esteem so people can see them in a good light, in their best, whatever it might be, and then make that more of an option for black people. So when we look at the data, we won't see that black men are dating out at a much higher rate. That's just my 10 pence piece. Anything you want to add before I press play?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, it'd be a major psychological thing. I guess, I don't know, we'd have to find out how the other environments do it, because you could have like an Iranian man living in an African country. The chances are he will find and marry an Iranian woman.
Yes.
Or you can have like a tiny Lebanese community in an African country. 99.9% of the time, the Lebanese will find another Lebanese to marry in that African country.
They're socially more intelligent than black people generally, as in their social intelligence are usually most other people groups, like the survival tactics of the Chinese, the Jewish, Lebanese. They understand certain basics. It comes in their culture, in their raising. Black people, we're still in the process of fixing that. Many of the diaspora, many people, especially those who come to different countries, also establishing purpose as well. There's some people, there's governments that fund people to go to other institutions in other countries, and they tell them you're going there to learn certain skills to come back to this country to make sure you rebuild this country. Many of the people from Africa, maybe the Caribbean, they leave them to build up a new life somewhere else, not necessarily go back and fix up where they're from. And many of them, especially the Caribbean men in this country, will find a partner who is not from the same background as them, even closely. But
do you think it's psychological, like they have a problem with their mother?
Yes, I think there's multiple things. I think it is the marketing and branding from Europeans. That's from what I've seen. I also think it's if there is challenges in the house, like how they see the mother behave and the father behave, this could be a deterrence. Not seeing, if you're not seeing in your household constructive behaviors, if that is, and if you're not seeing it like in the media, then this can really build up a kind of picture. And then when you look at other groups, if you do see that kind of salvation and this kind of stuff like this, and this kind of harmony, then this could make not being in your own people groups relationship much more appealing. And we do see that. And I'm definitely would like to invite people. There was some people who come on and they obviously are very pro not being with black people, whatever. And we'll definitely would like to know their journey of how they got there. But let's press play. Keep in mind, guys, I've pushed the link there. If you should jump in the show, feel free. Play.
Then when you prove to me you're racist, I know who you are. But if you prove to me that you have character, you're upstanding, and that you look at within before you look outward, then I can roll with you. I can rock with you. And that's kind of how, in determining when I dated.
where we go off thing character is like, if you recognize you're from a people group and the people group are not doing too good historically, currently, and potentially in the future, there is strong character in wanting to fix that. This is not the character that we speak of as a collective, and there is methods of doing that. And constructive black man with constructive black woman makes a constructive family. This is the facts. It's just the facts, right? And if there are other constructive black man, black woman, other families, then you form networks, and those networks you build. You have more incentive to build. This is stuff we don't talk about. We more talk about loving everyone else, and what's the other one? Learning and whatever the gentleman just said there.
My wife, I could see that she had those characteristics. And I chose one person. So I truly believe there's someone out there for everyone.
Once again, I'm not picking. I'm not going to every black person and judging who they pick. I don't have that interest. It's not. It's more about the patterns. When you look at the patterns, it doesn't matter what people say. You go by the patterns. You see, and that's like our guest said. It's that I have, and I'll show afterwards that we have 18 MPs and they're all married to white women. That's a pattern.
Everybody, regardless of what your race is, there is someone out there for you. So I was only the person for my wife, and that's who I married.
Dr. Umar, does it devalue the community or the culture?
It most certainly does. What it does is it reinforces stereotypes that have long been held in this society, that black women are not valued, black women are not wanted, and that there is something inherently wrong with black women, and that's why they're not desired by the black man or the white man. Without question, when you see so many well-educated and economically comfortable black men going outside of their community to find a spouse, even though it is not openly stated, it is clearly socially and non-verbally communicated that something must be wrong with the black woman. The black woman is our responsibility.
Juice, you've said that, you're not really here to give you.
Very important statement there. The black woman is our responsibility and the black man's our responsibility. These kind of concepts sounds very odd to hear that to some people, but this is how many other people groups think. They might not confess it, but how they act and their actions it shows this. It's something that when you practice kumbayaism and this kind of stuff, you forget the importance. And then when you want to look about why black people might collectively be in the situation we are, is because that concept isn't really acknowledged.
Your opinion, you're not really here to judge anybody else. Can you speak to the responsibilities that Dr. Umar just talked about when he said, look, black men have a responsibility to society? Do you not believe that?
I disagree.
Okay, so this is very important as well. And one challenge we face as black men, and this is something we have to put our hands up, is generally we're not building as a collective group. We're not building much, if anything, especially when we hit the diaspora and these kind of places when you need to build certain institutions. Yes, there are challenges, but the attitude that this brother is showing here are just no responsibility. Because we have so many black men doing this, and there's more emphasis on doing things outside the community. That's why we're still in that kind of place.
Again, it's not. I'm not here to please society.
So that's what I'm saying. We read between the lines. Many black men say that I'm a soloist. I'm here to do my own thing. And when you have a collection of black men doing that, that's why there is no movement. You won't get too many non-black men saying this. They're more community-led. This is what the thing. Welcome, King Kyle. Having a black pack of national tools, whether you are in non-African country or in African country, will make you a true survivor. Okay, big up. So yeah, let's carry on playing.
I can care less about what someone thinks about my decisions. I'm not here to please anyone. So again, I'm not here to push belief or preach on, but it's again, I'm doing this because I enjoy being around people who are good, regardless of who you are. It's that simple with me.
Right, but the question is, do you believe you have, as a black man, you have a responsibility to society in any way?
Absolutely not.
So this is one. This is many black men feel this way. If you, we can do this test. We can ask other people groups how they feel that they are socially responsible for the community and bettering it, and see what they say. But this is the same passion of how he said no is the same passion of how they're defending the right to love white women. And what you find is many black men have spent many of their years fighting for the right to be with white women and not fighting for the right to build any kind of institution and stuff. And this is why the show starts with black people, unfortunately, are collectively inadequate because of a collection of these mindsets that becomes the norm. So we try to highlight this to try to train black people that this might not be the best way forward to think this way.
You know, black or white, I'm not born in this life to be responsible for anyone or anything. I mean,
all right. So this is once again getting rid of responsibility, just about myself and my pleasure, this kind of thing.
It's just my decision on how I live my life, regardless of how you feel about it. So it's not my responsibility whatsoever as a black man.
See, that's if you can find me a non-black man in their community says the same thing, that'll be an interesting show.
Did you seek out a white woman?
Absolutely not.
That's a misconception that black men seek out white women. So
even if that's your preference, it's your business. It's like almost like being gay. You know, that's your preference of dating whomever you want. You know, and again, that's not why I did it because I need a Caucasian woman. No, I'm around different people all the time. You know, again, I'm around a lot of dark-skinned people who are terrible. Even my own family members, they could be just.
So notice we're talking about the right now. He's never mentioned anything negative so far. He probably will go on about non-black people, especially his preferences. But he's now describing some black people are terrible. So he might not be aware of it, but this is now how we are listening to him. A black man saying that he's with a white woman, and some black people are terrible. So it might be subtle. Let's see if we can follow it.
Terrible people to be around, and they're dark skinned. So I'm not around them as much. But if they were Caucasian, I'll treat them the same way. If you're a bad person, I won't be around you. Just that simple, really.
Do interracial
Use the way he said
relationships affect the black economy? That's a really deep question right there.
Not that deep, really.
Dr. Umar, can you give us a deep answer?
The answer is yes.
Of course, interracial marriages affect the black community. And
this is once again why black people are collectively inadequate, because they don't understand this basic premise.
In fact, I would argue that the economic sabotage, the economic treason that takes place whenever
I'm hearing the fire alarm is from him, Dr. Umar, or maybe it's not, maybe it's all three of them, but yeah, sweat your batteries, mate. I'm telling you, this stuff is dangerous.
Black man, especially an educated black man, an economically comfortable black man, decides to abandon the black woman for a white woman, he takes with him not only his...
Now, my way of speaking is black people with black people. I don't really, pick, but you do find that many black men do go for European white women.
Heart. But he takes his savings, he takes his education, he takes his financial opportunities, he takes his checkbook with him. Let us be honest that marriage at its very foundation is a financial relationship.
Very true.
Anyone who doesn't believe that only need go to divorce court and see how many people are arguing over the love that they gave the other person during the marriage. In divorce court, love is never a focus. You're focusing on assets. You're focusing on savings. You're focusing on retirement. And the black woman and the black community loses out on all of that whenever a black man decides to seek a white woman's hand in marriage. You're taking from a people who don't have enough, and you're taking it to another people who have already stolen so much. And what makes it even more insulting is the opportunities that put you in that economic position to be able to get married and take.
Just observation, I've seen, anecdotal observation, sorry, I've seen a hell of a lot of white men partnering with black women recently while I've been out and about. Yep, we are seeing a high number of women, black women, higher. Not as much as men. I have to check the data. That is as high. We are seeing that. This is black women probably best talk on this, but there are many black women who I mean, these women might just be randomly picking people or whatever, right? But there are dedicated movements now where they're turning their back on black men for many reasons, and we have invite many of those women to come on the show. But I think for the distrust of black men and black people in general, they probably won't want to come on.
Care of a family came from black people who died, who suffered, who struggled, who sacrificed for us to be in this position today. And for me to take my education and my income over to the white woman when there's so many black women who need it cannot be interpreted as anything other than economic betrayal.
Cedric, I see you smiling.
Oh yeah.
Have you?
Now this is the skin and grinning. This is something. What I recommend for us people to do is be able to hear facts and figures and just just take it as it is and not always try to play it off and this one thing I guess is a form of benchmark free branding as well, making certain information more digestible. Whatever you do in your life is your choice. Whoever you pick is your choice. But knowing the facts and how it affects people is important. This is why you get the history of people who took some kind of drugs, and those drugs might have been harmful, and they'll promote it in other ways. This is stuff we have to really big up Empress Kushti, who's in the house. Doing certain things that might not be in a person's individual best interest, a collective best interest, but you promote it as such. And this isn't right or wrong, left or right. It's just generally, what are you doing or saying that can have influence, and are you influencing people, creating templates that can actually work for the collective betterment? These are things to think about. When we talk to other people groups, just like the Jewish people, when it comes to them running music labels and making sure that no non-Jewish person or Jewish person is mocking and making fun of Jewish people, they have an interest in making sure that historical challenges don't repeat themselves. And this is something that maybe black people need to work on.
You committed economic betrayal, my brother.
No, absolutely not. Because Dr. Umar, respectfully, he's saying that the black man is taking his paycheck from the black woman. But that's also the value of the black woman. There's so much strong, educated black women out there that can handle their own checks.
Okay, this is another problematic way of thinking. We throw women out there and go, women can be independent and stuff. It's possible for everyone to be independent, but ultimately, if you're talking about families, it's challenging for a woman to have a family on her own, 2 or 3 kids, and provide for them without no support, especially if she's going to have a family. And once again, this kind of Walt Disney way of speaking that sounded great in the olden days, not the olden days, but a few years back, maybe the late 90s, whatever, where, I'm a single lady, this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's good. It's very entertaining, but that's not that entertaining when a woman has to look after children. And it's almost a way to brand a lifestyle of men not being around to support children and women. And we have to be very wary of this. This is not correct behavior as far as I can see it. But then again, I could be wrong.
They can pay their own money. They have my 2 sisters are 2 of them. They're 2 doctors. They handle their own stuff. They have their own money, and I'm not saying that
that's not the question.
That's not the question. But I'm just saying, like, my paycheck. You're saying that the guy has. You're making it seem like the guy is the one that's going to have the biggest paycheck. There's very plenty.
When a black man is talking about how women might have a higher paycheck, this is another thing that black men. Yes, any person can make more money, but generally, it's going to be harder for women in this system to make more money for historical reasons, as well as the fact that many women who have families have to stop their work, and look after children, right? So this is a hindrance to making money. So already the mindset of the brother is somewhere else, and this is not beneficial to black people to think this way, as far as my research shows.
I just wanted to say thanks for letting me on. I don't really have much to say because I don't actually disagree with the premise of the video or what you're saying. Yeah, it makes sense. Black man and black woman staying together and starting a family. So I don't really.
Yeah, this is the decision. But you did say some things, and as you're a guest there, I'll try to maybe engage you more. I want to say you did say one thing. I mean, I don't like to go down the negative path, but maybe I can try to find solutions. You said you didn't really agree much with Dr. Umar, or you don't like him. You used his term, right? is it possible for you to not like someone but still get jewels from them?
Well, I don't need to hear Dr. Umar Johnson telling me that black people need to stay together. I mean, black people have been saying that for years. I mean, Malcolm X was saying that before Umar Johnson was born. So, and even before that, if you grew up in a culture where most of the time black people are together, I just don't like the man. He's done things behind the scenes. He's given an image of being purer than pure, and he's done some real questionable things with women behind the scenes. And I'm like, wait, has he actually started his school yet? Is his school up and running?
I think he's kind of building. But one thing I would say is, and this might not qualify to you, so I'll say anyway. From my observation, black people are very easily prone to not trusting and disliking other black people, and there is a harshness to which black people look at other black people. And one of the strategies I try to push forward is to like literally take the jewels from people, but try to leave the personal stuff when possible. If someone is violating, or completely violating, then I understand this. But I haven't seen any inadequacies. Is one thing. I can't blame a person for inadequacies. Right now,
is he married to a black woman?
He's not married to a black woman, but if he was married,
what's holding him? Why hasn't he?
Once again, what I'm saying is, this is a pattern I see very, very consistently in the black community. It's where someone steps up to do something of any kind of betterment, and then everything about them then becomes reviewed, and that then becomes bigger than what they're saying. So they'll say things like, we should save our money and buy whatever. And they go, oh yes, but you live in this country and you've got
no. Saving your money is good. It's just simple basics. Practice what you preach. He can say all he's saying, but he has to practice what he's preaching. That's all. If you're saying stuff and you're not practicing it, it's like,
well, you would have to bring in documentation about someone because it's like this. If someone says something that is agreeable, and there's a video of them throwing grenades in a church to kill black people, then I can say this is deplorable, and this is an issue we have to tackle. But if it's like, these kind of things, it's hard to quantify, and it's a feeling.
It's not hard to quantify, Rap Raven. I mean, A, he's not married to a black woman. B, he hasn't started generations. He hasn't got black kids. C, he's been involved in nefarious activities with women.
I don't know what that.
It's been on online. C, he has a tendency to start racially abusing black people who don't agree with him at the drop of a hat, but then that's a whole different topic.
Right. So let me jump in. Let me jump in right now, because obviously I go Speaker's Corner, and this is a very similar kind of narrative that I see when black people, or anyone speaks generally, but my area of interest is black people. And I'm saying that sometimes we make a matter of a molehill. Now, there are more people who go onto a public platform and promote behaviors that is not in black people's best interest, and this is so normal that they do every day, and no one really sniggers. Whenever you get the few people who jump on, who try to give any kind of constructive criticism, or try to give a constructive path for them to follow, they then be put on the microphone, the microscope, whatever. And I'm thinking, but this is a pattern I see. This is a pattern. And because I see the pattern, I have to talk it out. I have to say, guys, are we where we're doing this to the point where we can't even highlight people we trust to push forward any message? Now, there is much distrust in the black community because of so much charlatans going on. I get this. And I'm saying that we have to develop a way of thinking where we can take good information from someone and leave certain kind of rumors and stuff behind, unless it's diabolical. If it's diabolical, then so be it. If it's diabolical,
what's your definition of diabolical?
Well,
an example. What would you mean?
Okay, so if a person is trying to raise money for if someone's trying to raise money for I don't know, some kind of black business, whatever, but they're pedophiles. They actively sleep with 10-year-olds and stuff, right? predators, predator pedophiles, whatever the name is called. I don't know what the name is called. I don't think we can even say that online. I don't even know. But then this is problematic. This means everything has to stop, and we have to like review that and definitely get that person from practicing this particular behavior, because no community can thrive with that behavior going on, and they have to be taken out of the community and persecuted, whatever, right? So something like that, we can stop the clock. But if it's something like this man, he's not married, he divorced his wife, which is great, but whatever, we don't know the exact story. It's someone that everyone has the right to their past, or maybe even when they were young, they went to jail, and obviously the nature of the crime might actually be important. But generally, I think as Black people, we lead with that, and we miss the message. And it's something maybe we should do a show about, because it's very easy for us to do that. Even me, all right? I come out and I speak, and the first thing people try to do...
Raven, sorry. We accept the message.
Right.
It's just that we don't accept the person who's giving the message. Just because I don't like the person giving the message doesn't mean I have a problem with the message. I just don't like that particular person. That's all.
Here's what it is. Have you ever seen me speaking in Speaker's Corner?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever seen me be disrespected in Speaker's Corner?
It depends. I mean, Speaker's Corner, shouting over people whilst they're talking, that's a form of disrespect. So I've seen that done to you. I've seen someone accuse you of being a fraudster. He said, "Why are you taking people's names and putting it in a WhatsApp group?" So I've seen you disrespect.
So you've seen it. Now, of all these people, maybe I hate every single one of them, but maybe I love every single one of them. We don't know, because if someone comes to do constructive work, that's the area I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to come on the panel and start and go, this other guy, I don't like him, but because it takes the direction away from Black Burma. And this is the learning I try to push forward. Yeah. I haven't any Black person who's ever said anything public to me of a distrust nature. The majority have come up to me after cameras are off and apologize. This is what it is, right?
No, but the person didn't have any evidence. They just made claims, but they had no evidence. So
but even the evidence that we're seeing here, the evidence of saying, okay,
well, you think there's no evidence against Umar Johnson?
Well, unless there's things that I don't know. Like, remember, I'm not here to defend Umar Johnson. I'm saying that there is a pattern of when Black people try to go out and do good works for Black people, their entire life is put under a microscope.
And not really. He made his life public with the things he did. If you don't know about them, then you don't know about them.
If you're
the message of a Black man and a Black woman being together, that is a good message, hearing it. But I'm just saying, I wish they had somebody else on this panel talking about it and not Umar Johnson.
The problem we're going to have is most of the people who come on to say this, at some point, someone isn't going to be best pleased with them. But before I carry on, welcome, Nahina. Am I saying that right? Nahana?
Nahanda.
Nahanda, I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Sankofa Rising. I'm using Shakara's thing today.
Oh, welcome. Yeah, welcome. So let me not go down the path of talking about Brother Umar and how Larry might not best trust him and stuff. I think
no, but I was going to just chime in a little bit and just to say,
please do. Go ahead.
I do agree with both points, but the overall point is that we all suffer major contradictions, and it's not easy being in the public eye, and especially when you don't have any grounding behind you. I'm an organization person, so organization, when it's done correctly, that helps to ground you. And because Umar's kind of blowing in the wind, he is a law unto himself at the end of the day. But that withstanding, Umar, yes, the school is a major issue. I'm not saying it isn't. And it would do very well if he did marry one of the mothers of his children, or a Black woman. That would do fantastic. However, that aside, he's never the only thing he's known for really is, people might call him a charlatan. Yes, people are questioning where the money's going, blah, blah, blah. I get all of that. And it's not little things. I get it. But Umar's done a lot of work. Nobody has criticized the work that Umar does. No one has said Umar lies about supporting young children, young black boys in particular, in the schools and wherever he goes in America. And he was known for giving out his number, and people will contact him, and he will give information about how to empower yourself in the educational system and what things to use, what not to use. And he's put out useful material in that regard. That can't be taken away from him. It cannot. So the reality is, this is the times that we're living in terms of we have contradictions. There's nobody that's going to stand up in front of us that don't have a certain level of contradiction in their liberty or what they're and just what we're doing, especially if we understand who we are as a people and where we're coming from. We're riddled with at the end of the day. But you have to just, like you're saying, hear what is being said, because again, if we have a devil, if we are developing ourselves and we overstand truths from untruths, sense from nonsense, you're able to hear things clearly. You don't have to take on Umar, but you can hear what he's saying and saying, yeah, when Umar's talking about mixed race relationships, I am always tuning in. I'm always sharing word, sound, and power. Yeah, and he don't mince his words. And that's another reason why he's as popular as he is, because he says it with his chest and he's confident about it. We haven't got as many confident speakers on our behalf that speaks clarity and truth straight into the eye of the oppressor and into the public domain. So you have to give the man his respect, but yeah, his contradictions are his contradictions. I'm not telling you to follow him and whatever.
Yeah, thank you for that, Sister Sankofa. And this is the problem. Much wisdom in there. What I'm trying to highlight is many black men and women will step up, and people like Brother Umar Johnson, there won't be that many trying to do similar things, or at least getting out there. So it's from my observation, we do spend most of our time looking at the shortcomings rather than the works. But before I carry on, welcome, Brother Kel. You've joined let me just make sure introduce you. Welcome, Brother Kel.
How you doing, Brother Raven? How you doing, Black Remnant panel? How you doing?
Right. Now, even though you've joined Brother Kel, because we have a sister on, and it's very important because we're trying to make it the show more pleasant for sisters to jump on. So let me just ask Sister Sankofa and stuff. I'm going to quickly switch back to our thingamajig. There we go. We black men who separate from black. So what we're asking on this kind of show is sometimes there's a communication breakdown between men and women, but we're going to focus on black men and black women. And I don't know if you're aware that there's a rising individual podcasts and stations of black women going their own way and black men going their own way in the difficult the dating game and networking game. Are you aware of this, Sister Sankofa, at all? Or is it?
Unfortunately, I am aware. And as well, sorry, rise up the panel. Rise up, brother. Oh, I'm not good with that name.
Brother Kel and Ilary.
Brother Kel and who?
Ilary.
Ilary. Or that, no. Yeah. Is Yoruba?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Ilary. Yeah, so rise up. Unfortunately, I am aware of it. It's extremely frightening. It's extremely distressing, and it is a reflection as to where we are right now. I'm not going to say that that's the masses of us, but it is a growing number of us, and worse still, it's impacting our younger people. I have a how old is my sister? 23-year-old sister and a 18-year-old daughter. And not that they're on that, thank God, but you still can hear things seeping in, if that makes sense, in terms of sometimes they're unless they're challenged about it, sometimes they naturally have a negative opinion about a black man before they think about what it is they're saying, if you get what I'm saying. And it's not intentional, but it's because it's so because that's the dominant conversation, and they're getting it subliminally through feminism and feminist thought and programs and media and music even. So they don't realize that they're being bombarded, even if they're trying to hold a different position, if that makes sense. So if they might say something and I challenge them, they're like, oh yeah, it's true. But yeah, it's just a reflection of what's been happening in regards to our communication and how much work, I would say, has been put in for us to get to this point. Work from the outside, from those who don't want to see the productivity of Black families. How much work has been put in to destroy our families and to destroy our relationships. Now we're seeing the fruit of that labor. So yeah, I'm noticing it. And yeah, it's terrible. I would say as a Black woman though, as a Black woman, I would say we Black women have been used as a tool to get us to where we are at right now. That's my perspective on it, because it was first, obviously it's about destroying the Black family, but if you destroy the image of the Black man on every level, and he becomes null and void and worthless and good for nothing, and and if you are taking on a Black man, are you risking your life? Are you wasting your time? He's dead weight. Like, there's so much has been put on the Black man. So then by the time, it's so easy then for the Black woman to, once you work on the Black woman, it becomes easy for her to, I ain't got time for that. It's not worth my time. Does that make sense? But we don't realize we've been used in that way.
Good. And let me add a parallel to that. Yeah, some of them might be the opposite of it, where it's like, you're right. There's been much demonization of Black men and high expectations beyond what anyone can deliver. But at the same point, in some areas, there has been mass dropping of the ball. And I think one thing I would like to do is highlight collectively the shortcomings of Black men and Black women that we can learn from and find ways to communicate without it becoming a slugfest. And I think one thing that has been pushed forward is, well, before we push forward, how now obviously the two gentlemen on the show do not represent Black people as a monolith, but we can say that the way they speak, many might speak similar, right? And that already shows you that there is certain priorities that isn't within their head. You see? So as a community, we failed to make that even prominent, where when you go on a public platform, you talk in a way that can actually empower your people, even if you're not. Now, this might even sound contradictory, right? But even if you are not a person practicing certain things, you still understand that that's important. I.e., a drug addict should be able to tell people don't take drugs. Like, they should be able to say, even though I take drugs, you should do it because I know it's messed me up. And I feel this is the kind of, when we listen to sometimes how men speak, where they relinquish responsibility for community building and uplifting of certain aspects, then this is an issue. And we won't really get there if we don't have that direct conversation with women about how we fall short.
I would say that because the biggest part of the conversation, well, a few ingredients are missing from the conversation. White culture, it teaches about individuality and being individual. So you're not a people. You're your own self, and you're meant to just care about what's going on in your house. So to talk about the importance of Black family, that means you're looking outside of your house and you care about a community. You're not meant to do that. You're meant to care about Britain and this abstract diversity and all these buzzwords of inclusion but you're not including your own. And that's because they've done powerful work in us losing our identity.
Yes.
That nonsense over that white yardie foolishness is an example of how much we want to be close to white people, and a confusion around who we are and what is our identity in that sense. So,
Let me stop you there because you've highlighted something. Now, I'm not going to talk about the mass hysteria of the topic of is the white man Jamaican, this kind of stuff. But what I will talk about is the amount of black people that rushed to defend, protect, or shield the European who lived in Jamaica. Shows you priorities, right? And I feel that is something we can review. Like, why does so many black people feel it's necessary to go the extra mile for people outside the community? But when within the community, they might not necessarily make that extra mile.
Because the British education system says done what it says on the tin.
So
like I said, we're British, should it?
But that's why this show has to be a solution, and we have to have those hard conversations. So when we come on and we talk about Brother Umar in a disparaging way, in the sense of like I don't like him, my thing is to find codes where we don't where we don't necessarily like any black person, but we understand why it's necessary to promote a black betterment and work in a way where we only go towards constructive behavior, because by training there's a high chance that black people don't like black people. And why this video is more poignant is a lot of the black men who were just showing that last video, they might be a byproduct of training not to like black people, i.e. themselves or their women, and they just don't know it because it's automatic. So when you ask them who your favorite woman is, they might say it's a European, or they might go, it's the one I find, but it just happens that they always seem to find European women. And not understand that the programming is happening. That's why when I show things like this, now I'm not saying this is deliberate or not deliberate. Let me see if I can get my sheet up. Hold on, 14 seconds. All right, so this is very interesting stuff, but we'll go past that for a minute. So we look at things like this, where these are all the politicians in the UK, and that I could find. I was desperately trying to find others. I couldn't find any other black politicians who were male, by the way. The women are similar, but there's one or two who actually either not married, many of them are not married, or they don't reveal it, or they might have one black husband. But generally, have you noticed that all the black men here have European wives?
Lord have mercy.
Can you see this? And something, one of the first shows to be banned was when we spoke about the condition that the world was going in, where people were sneezing, and there was black people saying that some people should take a remedy for the sneezing that people were having. And I was pointing that what I noticed that many of these, all the black people who were on this advert that I witnessed, they all have European partners, but none of them usually are actually are non-black partners. None of them were actually ever usually doing any other kind of black betterment kind of work, but yet when it comes to giving people the remedy for the sneezing, they were there. And I'm saying these are patterns. So now, maybe I'm the only, maybe I'm just a psychopath who sees things and pattern the numbers, but this is what I try to put together. There's a lot of things here. This is also the case study of the concept of, this is something that we don't really go down to, but you have a person from somewhere else going somewhere, marrying into that culture, being extremely wealthy, and as time goes by them marrying the same people, their wealth then funnels back into a different people group. I think that's what Brother Umar was trying to say, and we've given examples on this show of how that happened.
You see the Bob Marley one?
Yeah, the Bob Marley one is interesting because this is relatively new. So if the Bob Marley one, Bob Marley has many children. But I noticed that his two kids here recently, after they inherit this, I'm not trying to be no theory conspiracy one. Two of his children recently, when they actually inherited, because five of them became the controls of his estate.
Is it? Is these two one of them? Ah, that one up there just makes me sick. That one.
Yeah. But let's try to keep it peaceful. What I'm saying is, all of a sudden now, Bob Marley's children are marrying a person from Israel and a person from I can't remember what this model's from, but I remember that wherever she was from, black people wasn't treated best. I can't remember because my memory's bad. But these are
that's the one that left good Lauren Hill, mad up good Lauren. Fool.
Okay, so once again, the one thing is what I'm going to tell you is you see how other people groups understand economics, right? They understand economics, and we're not talking about economics and how this can be used to preserve culture, fund institutions, keep families, blah blah blah. We talk about love and Disney and this kind of frogs kissing frogs and them turning into princesses, all this kind of stuff. And this is the issue of the chat, and I further extend that to us not trusting each other at all. Now, some people are not worthy of our trust. I understand this, but sometimes I think we go looking for problematic stuff, and that's what that's what we're doing here. But anyway, let me not. Okay, but obviously we have brother Kel and brother Larry. I hope I said that right.
So can I just say one more thing about Bob?
Go ahead.
See the whole mixed race thing as well. That's a big question mark.
Yes,
that's a big question mark about him actually being mixed race.
Yeah.
When people always as well act like to say, but Bob Marley's mixed race, like to say Bob Marley's mum and the supposed white man was star-crossed lovers or whatever. He was a dirty overseer, and he was raped his mother because she was a teenager, and he was a big old crusty man. If we're gonna go by the story that's put out there, there was no star-crossed lovers here. He was a pedophile.
There was no story of if there is another story that he might not even be his dad, but
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
But when I was fortunate to watch the play. My daughter and Shakira took me for my birthday, but and they play on that a lot because they're playing to the white audience.
Well, when you say play, you play on the fact that he's
supposedly mixed race and all that, but they play on it to the point that he is he's seen as different in Jamaica, and he's faced a certain level of non-acceptance from both sides and all kinds of foolishness.
Oh yeah. Well, this is if you look at what's the is it Mary? What's her name? Mary. I forgot her name now. Married to the American president. Not married. That's a bad word. I should have said that. Who was the American president who was raping? Well, they all did it, I guess, but it was raping one of his slave women.
Jefferson.
Jefferson, yeah. Sorry about that. I should, yeah. And they make books about this, and obviously in the books it's love, love untold and this kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But once again, this
sorry, but that's it. Go.
No, good point. But this ties into the fact about black people building institutions and creating their own stuff, where black betterment and Pan-Africanism, this kind of stuff is at the heart of it. So when we are telling our stories, it isn't going to be told from. I mean, look, if you look at the TV now, you're going to see a whole lot of, European-esque concepts and ideas. Even how they even want to represent the mixed race kind of thing, where it's adverts and this kind of thing. This. The ratio of mixed race representation adverts is greater than that of in the England or in America or Canada, wherever they're doing it. So it's like, it is what it is. From a black standpoint or from an African standpoint, we always say that you focus on what we're doing, because people who have historically, not favored black people, I'm not going to turn around and start favoring. And even if they do, they're going to do it wrong. It's just what it is. They're going to do it wrong. But all we can do is watch what we're doing. But like I said, brother Kel and brother Larry, do you have anything to add to that? Let me not take over. Go ahead. Anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say, brother Raven, is that when you there's a book called The Destruction of the Black Civilization by William Chancellor, right? Mm-hmm. And when he speaks upon the democracy of the African descendants, how we had different roles. The women, they would understand political science as well as they understood African womanism. The boys understood political science and understood the masculinity. And you know, the subject what you've came up with today, just like the other topics, these are political scientific issues that needs to be assessed with a cure and a scientific blueprint. And what I've noticed us as a people, right, is that, and this is no disrespect for anyone, they do not understand, let alone African political science or political science of the non-Africans. And when you get like a member of our community that understands political science, right, and has to be very bold in that, we're quick to attack them. Now, when you look at brother Umar Johnson, right, and he is a Garveyite, right, and a Pan-Africanist, he is doing a lot of work, right? First of all, look at the things what he's doing when it comes to teaching black people about the prison school pipeline and stuff, right? These are very deep issues because those who grew up in the 80s or whatever area you grew up in, those teachers, the way how they use political science to put you off education, right? And if you're having a bad time at home due to dysfunctionality and stuff, right, and you're going to school, those non-African teachers do not care one bit about you, right? So when you get in an African descendant like Dr. Umar Johnson and he's teaching black people, who in truth, Brother Raven, should be learning about the enemies, what they use to destroy us, and we can't be bothered, right? And he's teaching these things, right? I think we need to quiet down and stop assassinating these political revolutionist heroes, right, which will be classed as helping us. So I think we need to quiet down and know our level and know our place.
Yeah. Are we going to get back to talking about the message, or is this the Umar Johnson fan club? Because if it is, I've got better things to do. The message was interesting. That's what I wanted to hear. But if it's cheerleaders for Umar, I'm out.
Well, hold on. This is something that I'm going to step in now, because remember, there's always multiple topics that go. There's the front topic, and then there's the week-to-week topic, which is how do black people communicate better. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm entertained by when we watch TV and this back and forth. But I think when it comes to Black Betterment building, we have to establish that there is a programming that makes it easy for us to undermine each other. And I would say, brother, you might not like Umar, and maybe brother Kel does, and vice versa, but let us understand that if we both want black people to progress, let us try to communicate in a way.
It's all right. Thanks for the time. I'm out. I enjoyed the show on the black, but I don't really give a damn about Umar. And anybody wants to cheerlead for him can do that on their own time.
Well, no, this is not about you, brother. It's about you. You can leave. Okay, so and this is very important. This is very important. Many of the speakers call the community, this is how they communicate. And it's just a wider kind of, very boisterous kind of way of speaking. But what we find is when black people come together, this seems to be a similar thing. And it is most challenging to manage people's egos and the way they communicate and stuff. But we do know that it's error prone, and we do know that it's high anxiety driven. So we have to have a way of communicating that can minimize that. And if any person from Speaker's Corner or these communities wishes to come on, you're always welcome on the show. But if you carry on speaking in a way that doesn't bring forth fruitful communication, then I will have to always call it back. And I'm more than happy to have one-to-ones with people, whatever it is. But this inadequate way of communicating, we cannot continue. And hopefully we can find solutions to it. But anyway, moving on. So where we got to in the thing. So how long ago? Half an hour. Cool, we're good. So I think where it's very important, because we're trying to, and also this is more important as well. We're highlighting that when it comes to black men and black women in certain spaces, there is sometimes a miscommunication and also a distrust. And this is what I'm noticing. And sometimes how we communicate actually heightens that. So hopefully we can use this platform to actually find a way to communicate better. We just had a brother there who came on, and he has his freedom to come and leave as he chooses, as everyone does. But that snap attitude in there, that way of operating, this is one of the things we're going to try to rectify. And I don't know, we'll have, before we know, the brother has got something to do, or maybe he has a history of some kind of way of feeling a certain way, and he doesn't like confrontation. Who knows? But we definitely want to control the way of speaking, where we can actually have conducive, constructive, conclusive ways of communicating. So we have Sister Sankofa, and we definitely want to get women's perspective. You mentioned earlier that you heard some of your younger family members, females, the women and the girls who might have you feel might be saying negative things towards black men, and sometimes it's compounded in the back of their mind. Is there anything that you think women actually want to say to black men collectively, but they feel reluctant to say it because maybe they might react how the brother just reacted? No shade on the brother, just trying to highlight that sometimes people don't want to communicate and they do certain things like that, and that might then create a reaction where people don't say things. Go ahead, bro, sister. If you
no. We're at the opposite end. Black women have been saying way too much.
right,
Black women are saying everything that's on their mind that don't have no sense, and they're just repeating buzzwords and all kinds of things. Now, let's keep it 100 at the same time. Yeah. Because of the dynamics, man, woman, and the way we have been abused and our trauma, men create physical damage when it comes to sisters. Do you understand? So, when I say physical, obviously we're talking about domestic violence, sexual abuse, sexual assault, these type of things. Yeah. So, and when I'm talking about my young people or my sister and all that, they have positive relationships with the black men in their lives, and all of that. I'm just talking about in terms of their development, though. Sometimes I can hear in the conversation things seeping in.
Yes.
And I'm saying that even even within the conscious community, it's an issue. So even the black women that say they're conscious and all the black, it's about rising up the black man. I mean, the black family, they will still hold men more accountable than us ourselves as women. And what I'm saying is that whereas I understand because of the physical element, men can abuse us in a way that, how can I put it? Men can abuse us in a way that takes away something from our being that we can take a lifetime to get back, if ever. But my conversation for my sisters is, when we're talking about breaking the cycles, we have to look at, one, how we're relating to black men, but we are the mothers. We can't talk about being the mothers of civilization and the mothers of creation, but not take responsibility in terms of how we are raising our children. And 9 times out of 10, let's say, look at R. Kelly, for instance. Yeah? R. Kelly was abused as a child. That doesn't excuse what he's done. But he was abused as a child. And he was abused not just by a man, but mainly by an older girl. Older woman. A lot of men who have particular toxic behavior, 99% of the time, he can go back to his childhood and tell you, and there will be a woman that has abused him in one way, shape, or form. It doesn't always have to be physical, but definitely emotional. If we don't see that it's a cycle, and we both play a part in our pain, so we both have to play a part in our healing, then we're gonna be on this wheel until it disintegrates, if that makes sense. And then there's nothing to stand on.
Let me add to that.
Yeah, go on.
Let me add to that. So and yeah, I hear that, and that's powerful that you can analyze these things and say that. But what I would say is there a reluctancy now for black women to? Because when I asked you, you said black women have said too much, and perhaps that has.
No, when I say too much, I mean like we're just chatting. We're not saying nothing.
Yes,
We're black women are just chatting to men, chatting to them away, chatting rubbish. We're not saying nothing of any relevance.
Let's refine that. So obviously that isn't constructive, but there are ways to talk in a way where constructive requests are made, and we've had shows about this before where we asked black women, "What do you want?" And the reason I say this is because I look at many black dedicated female shows and black dedicated male shows. Obviously, they're not necessarily within the constructive or a black Betterment community. Some are, maybe, who knows. But generally, what I find is just like whenever there is a communication or request, they block. Either people leave or they get blocked. So communications can't flow. And kind of like what just happened with the guests where they just left because it wasn't going a certain way. Similar things happen. I'm like, okay, let's establish a way of communicating where people can make a request or put something up for us to review, and we can review it as a collective rather than either being too nervous to say it because people might back away and move, or we say it in a way that can be easily digested. This is the strategy I'm trying to put forward. So if a lot of the things you are saying, black women are saying, is nonsensical, what are the stuff that is sensible that black need to work on? One I can push forward is that black men are not building at a rapid rate, as in like building things isn't something that seems to be a priority in many black men's mindsets, right?
But
Now,
black men will say they are building. They're just, again, because we don't have any cultural foundation, and in a Eurocentric paradigm, it's individualistic. So they're saying, I'm building my thing. I'm not building a community thing because they're not being taught to build a community thing. But what I would say, my main request from black men who do have a level of knowledge of self, I would say, I think my biggest thing before the building, because I always say before building, people have to get together to come together to build in the first place. My main thing is black men need to come together to deal with black men. That's my thing. I think when black men are holding other black men accountable, when black men are supporting other black men, when black men are teaching other black men, when black men are creating programs of rehabilitation, of healing, and education on very different things, building will naturally come. But black men have to take charge of black men. That's what I think. And it's the same with black women. Black women, we as black women, there's a certain set of us as black women that have to take other black women in hand. Black women have to tell we have to, the same way black men, like I said, who have a level of conscience, they have to really, clamp down on certain things with bad behavior with black men. There's a certain set of us as black sisters, we have to clamp down on certain bad behavior with our sisters. But at the same time, we have to, because we're doing the healing thing in abundance at the moment, but there's no accountability, there's no responsibility.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So,
and that's why what there has been a complaint that maybe black men are not listening to black women, or black women might not be allowed on some platform, or maybe the platforms might not be built in a way that black women feel comfortable. So that's why I'm always setting space aside to ask black women how they feel and if we can work on it. And if there is any kind of like requests and stuff, let us know, because we could go.
But I'm saying as a whole, most black women don't know what they want. That's what I'm trying to say. We don't know what we want because we've been conditioned with the same. We've been conditioned with the same fairy tale, Disney, rom-com, all of that. Like, we think we're not susceptible to that. We've been indoctrinated on another level. So when we come, he needs to bring this to the table and he needs to do that. And when I always say, if a man is ticking every box on another level, are we ready for that man? Are we ready for him? When we like men who's got it within their chest, and like we say, oh, Malcolm X is there. No, I'm telling you now, there's no sister that's going to manage Malcolm X today. Are you crazy? Can we raise our standards? And that's the thing. We're looking at a man like him, but are we studying Betty? Are we studying Betty and seeing what kind of woman she was? When we talk about Marcus Garvey, are we studying Amy Jakes Garvey? Are we studying Amy Ashwood Garvey? Because enough of our warrior kings had some warrior queens And these women had some next level character. If it wasn't for Amy Jakes Garvey, enough of the works of Marcus Garvey wouldn't even know about. 60% of the UNIA was women.
Yeah.
And the amount of work that these sisters did do. And knew the state of our men and the fact that us cussing them out and dogging them out, that's not helping.
Well, no, and this is something that we always have. This is why we start the show with trying not to use certain kind of language, because, as you know, it's not conducive to anything. But despite that, when the cussing stops and the random fits of this and that stop, there are still requests. There are still things that black men might not know, and I feel we do need to create a scenario or a situation where black women are comfortable to have these reasonable requests and to start a conversation amongst men, so we can react to and solve the problems as they come, if they are indeed problems. But if we don't have that conversation, then and people don't confront it, then you have silos where people build up resentment, and then they form these new philosophies that you're seeing here, where they feel they can't communicate, and then new philosophies come, and then we end up back at level one. But brother Kurt, did you say you want to say something? Is that right?
Yeah, I was going to ask the sister, right? What type of black men should be tackling the black? Saying the black women is to be tackled. Women should be referred to.
Sorry, you're breaking up. Say that again.
Brother Kurt, you're breaking up.
I'm breaking up a lot. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, I was going to ask, what type of black man were you referring to that needs to tackle the black men, and what type of black women was you referring to needs to tackle the black women? That was my question.
The black women and the black men that are nation builders, that do come from that, what you were saying before, that political scientific school of thought, that understand that we're at war, that the black family comes first. And within the black family, if the black family comes first, then the community is the outside circle of the black family. So people who have that Garveyite, maybe I'm being biased because I'm a Garveyite, but that principled nation building philosophy, and they work to that, because as well sometimes people say things we're not looking at. Well, what work are they doing? What are they involved in? We have to be a bit more diligent. Oh yes, I just see. Sorry, big. Ayesha Shabazz, who passed away, one of the twin daughters of Baba Malcolm X. She passed away last week. So, yeah. But yeah, those are the type of brothers and sisters that need to be, and they are. Even though I'm saying they need to be, they actually are. A lot of the people that I know are doing some kind of program in terms of sister circles. I'm one of them. I've got a sister circle. It's not active at the moment, but I've had it for since 2015. There's a brother who did a brothers. I don't want to call it a circle because that's not what he called it, but it was I can't remember the title of it. Manifest. It was called. It's called Manifest. He did a workshop, and he's been doing ongoing workshops with a collective of different brothers who've got different initiatives within the community and some initiatives back home. So people who are doing the works already and just building on top of that. But those are the types of people. It can't be just, I say it can't be because there is a lot of people in the community that see a need for things, and they get together and they do something, and we have to give thanks for that, because as a community, we're struggling for breath. So anybody who does anything, we give thanks and praises for. But those who have a clear vision for where we need to move as a people, those who have a clear understanding of the healing that needs to take place, but also understanding our roles and responsibilities, and knowing that we have standards. Because for some reason, this new conversation amongst women as well is no judgment. I don't know what that means. We have to have standards. We have to have a vision. We have to know where we're going. So I would say it's those type of brothers and sisters who are doing the work, brothers and sisters who understand the principles, the value system, that have a level of cultural orientation. Those are the ones that need to do this work. Preferably for me, nationalist, Pan-Africanist. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Brother Cal?
Well, it's just the reason I was asking this question is that there was I won't say a movement, but it's always been in ancient times where the women in my family would always speak about African womanism, right? And because we practice socialism, religion, sexual orientation, behavior, and gender groups, right? Is that what I've noticed is that there doesn't seem to be a filter that helps us to not be too invested in socialism, too invested in religion, too invested in social sexual orientational practices and investment in gender. Whereas the African womanism from the women in the past, for example, Anna J. Cooper and Charlotte Bass, who was the president of the UNIA, right, is that they had a good filter of, if I'm going to go into socialism to get my people out of there, I need a filter to prevent me not to be too invested. And what I've noticed with the African females, right, is that one time I mentioned something in regards to that I don't believe that the African female should be dating, and I got like attacked and whoa, you're too old fashioned and things like that. But if you are dating, and we know in ancient times that communities, for example, tribes will sit together and say, if you want to marry my daughter, or you want to marry my husband, then we want a coalition with the resources that will build the tribes better. That is more of a solution than with the dating. So my question was, what I'm going to ask you, sister, is that old fashioned is a problem to us, and European ideologies seems to be attacking old fashioned ways. So how would we overcome the stereotypical of old fashioned is basically out of fashion to combat the European ideologies in regards to the African woman respecting the African man and the African man respecting the African woman?
That's a good question, and definitely yes, womanism. That's something I'm coming to have a deep reasoning with some of the young people I work with soon. But you see how I tackle what you're saying the old-fashioned ways. As a parent, I tackle it from a parent perspective, because right now we're in a crisis with our children, and we respond in a frantic way. And 99% of the time, you're going to hear people talk about back in the day when our children used to do this, and back in the day I could never, and back in the day. But they don't want to practice back in the day principles, because again, us as big people, we don't have no behavior, and we can't be told nothing, because we have lost our tradition. We think that we have it, but we don't, because of the same things, all the isms and Eurocentric ideologies that we brought into. So I always tackle tradition, and I don't even call it old-fashioned. I call it tradition, and I call it our culture and our value system, because it's infinite. To respect our elders is infinite. There's certain things that is not. It's not an old-fashioned. It's part of our. It's part of our continuity as a people. So I tackle it that way, more from a parent perspective, because if you are a parent, or you want to be a parent one day, you're going to have some kind of order. You're going to have some kind of value system, some kind of principles. You can't. This Lego beast business is do what you want to do. I just want them to be happy. It's not working. It's not. It's failing miserably. It's not failing a little bit. It's failing miserably. Disaster. It's our children are dying, and it's not the mass of our children, but our children are dying. So a lot of the time when I go that way, it's, it becomes very difficult to debate that that's not the way forward. To go back, that's hence my surname is Sankofa, because we have to look back to see what served us well, because not every single thing is going to serve us in 2021. But it's our principles, it's our value system that's rooted in our culture. That's what's gonna take us forward, and that's not old fashioned, because all these Eurocentric ideologies, they're built on the ideas of yesterday. They don't call it old fashioned. We don't realize that, but they don't call it old fashioned. So yeah, that's how I look at it. If that makes sense.
Okay. All right, guys, we're hitting once again. Things are extremely fast. We're down to the last quarter of the show. Well, not quarter, but it's 10, 15 minutes. If anyone wanted to jump on and say anything, by all means, please do. Where any opinions is important. We also want to have a constructive way of communicating. Very important as well. And this will be your time if you wanted the links down there. Did you want to say something, Brother Cal? I think you did. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I want to know if I answered the question. But
did the sisters Sankofa answer the question, brother? Cal?
Yeah, in her way, all due respect, in her way. Because it is the thing, sister, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Say that again.
Gonna get a little controversial now.
Oh, you broke up again. You're gonna get what?
I'm gonna get a little bit controversial now.
Oh, okay. Go on then.
So we understand that there's a problem with the African females and the African males in regards to connecting, right? They hate one another, the unsynchronized ones, right? But due to the fact that we need to be collective, it's a problem, right? Yeah. So what is it that puts people off? Dr. Umar Johnson, right? Who is a child of Garvey like myself and yourself, as you said that you're a Garveyite, right? What is it that he does that puts people up from absorbing the message, which, by the way, collides with the practices of Pan-Africanism as well as Garveyism? What is it that puts people off him when it comes to him uniting the African males and females as one?
It's what puts people off of any kind of Black power, Black unity conversation. It's not specific to Umar. It's specific to anyone who is talking Black power, race first, nation building, Pan-Africanism, any of those words that come up in your conversation, because we've been conditioned that, especially after the 60s and COINTELPRO and all of that. Yeah, you hear that's dirty words. Even though we're going to look at this knobhead Boris and the whole of the cabinet, Trump, whoever. Look, Trump had grabbed gal, pum pum, and all kinds of business. No one don't care. Boris does whatever. No one don't care. We're going to say whatever. We're still going to go to the ballot box and vote. We're still going to be like, oh, Boris said we can't do this. We're going to take you on and listen to what is being said, because white authority, white power, that reigns supreme. You little black man saying what you're saying, that's how we see it. Like, what you ain't saying nothing. Because we're conditioned to talk, to not respond to that conversation. So that's the reason why, and like Rap Raven said earlier, we're conditioned to look at every single flaw. So again, like we talk about, everyone wants to be pro Malcolm X today, but would Malcolm X survive in today's culture? You would have been talking about after he was selling women and he was on road and selling drugs, and about coming to talk about this and don't eat this, and no one would have listened to Malcolm X today. No one would have listened to Malcolm X today, but it's convenient to pretend that we would have.
Well, let me add something to that. Just to add to it. People didn't listen to Malcolm X in his day, just like they didn't listen to Martin Luther King in his day. And
True,
there's always
but there's a lot that did, and
you know,
and
no,
did
I
with
agree with your point.
confidence.
No, I agree with your point, but what the reason I'm saying it is uh, that as a community, people are always going to be prone to not trust, especially if you go against the status quo and the power structure. But I'm saying that when this happens, I recommend we have a code of conduct, a way of operating that tries to deal with that, and that's why I'm trying to create a constructive, civilized way of communicating where certain kind of words and certain kind of things doesn't send us the wrong way. I'm saying that's why I'm
I
asking
also
questions.
say as well, it's a level of fear as well.
Okay.
We underestimate fear, and again, maybe because I'm a parent and how I parent and how I see parenting, but my daughter, I took her out of school. She started school late. I homeschooled her um, quite late, and then she started primary school, let's say at 6 or something.
Right.
And then I took her out again just at the beginning of year 8 in secondary school. But either way, like I deal with parents and stuff like that, and just being and when I was actually engaging with the school system. And the point I'm making is the disempowerment that parents feel they feel when having to do.
Sister, are you moving away from the microphone?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. There's static, but usually you talk louder than the static.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, the disempowerment that parents feel when it comes to teachers and what they perceive as their authority over their child is a crazy thing to witness. And when I had I had very little negative interaction with teachers because I make my presence known and I just don't rap. But when they used to ask me certain things, they'd be like, "Oh, how come you did this?" or "How come this happening?" or and I'd have that conversation with them. I realize I'm having a conversation to empower them, to make them know that this is your child, and this is not just about speaking truth to power in a in a um, in a general sense, if that makes sense. This is about talking about your child, who you carried all of 9 months and been raising and breastfeeding and all of that. And if you're a man who you've been supporting and watch and change batty and all them things there, that's your seed. And parents are nervous to talk to a teacher about their own child. I said, this fear thing ain't a joke. It's not a joke. So a lot of the time when we respond in a negative way to a Umar and anybody who talks on a particular level, a lot of it as well is we're conditioned to see it as negative, but it's also fear because we've seen so much of our leaders and people who speak in that way and be treated a particular way. And when you do join the organization, because when we talk about organization, everyone's got a conversation about the failure of organization. Yeah, but no one don't talk about it. If not for the Black Power movement, there's a whole heap of things that wouldn't be happening right now. But because of what happened to a lot of people in the general mass of the organizations, the ones that's the most told, I would say, the Black Panther movement, and people don't really study how that grew and the complexities of it and but they just see a lot of the negative stuff. So it's fear. No one don't want that. No one doesn't want to be on the receiving end of the beast, basically. No one don't want to feel the repercussions of it. It takes a different type of person like to say, yeah, I'm standing up and I'm saying this. So, a lot of the time we don't know. We don't know. Again, I'm definitely not an Umar cheerleader or anybody like that. But we don't know what different things he's up against when when we see him online. You get what I'm saying? We don't know, is he being threatened? Is he being watched? Is he being followed? We don't know what's happening to him. Do you get what I'm saying? And that happens to a lot of people that choose to make that stand, that commitment to their people, regardless of their
Yeah, let me jump in. We just got that last bit. You might, yeah, there you go. And we are at kind of at the end of the show. I mean, 2 hours ago, so very fast. It goes very fast. But I would say, one thing we do want to learn is like I said, how to communicate better with each other and how to potentially take the jewels from people and leave some of the things that we're not best pleased with, unless someone's actions is diacritical, where they're doing something that's just completely destructive and can't get back from, and we need to protect the innocence from them, then this is something that I would recommend. But then again, I don't know. We're at the end of the show now, so what I would do is, was there any last words that Brother Kel and Sister Sankofa would like to have before we wrap away?
Yeah, I was just like to say that I do believe that in political science and military science that you should never reveal too much, and you should always keep things blur until the right time to strike. But I also believe, Brother Raven, that the message needs to be very direct. All African people, only African people, nationalism all the way. There should be no miscuts or any form of altercations for the weakness of socialism, sexual orientation, behavior, gender, or even religion. All due respect to religious people I'm referring to is that it should not be a white supremacist mindset before the actual templates of the religion to liberate the people. It should be clear, man. That's my last words.
Thank you, Brother Kel. And Sister Sankova, last words?
What's my last word? I will echo everything Brother Kel said, definitely. And pick up yourself for another great show. I'm glad that I saw it on my YouTube today. And yeah, I'm going to
Thank you. Thank you very much. Definitely, if you are viewing this show, please subscribe, please like. I mean, I don't know what it does liking, to be honest, but what I do recommend is you subscribe, you click the bell, so when we go live, we definitely want to get more female women presence on the show. And we're going to hit the trilogy next week. We research the black men who separate from or hate black women and vice versa. We tackled in and out of it now. But we want to go into the deep stage of it, and we do want a career conversation. If you are a black person who doesn't like black people, please, you're welcome to come on the show, especially if you're a black woman and you're fed up, quote unquote, with black men. It would be good to help your space. We'll try to put a separate space for you to speak, and if you don't wish to communicate with others, we can sort that out. But yep, it's very challenging, but let's see what we can do. But until then, I hope you guys have a great time. Black Betterment. And I see you next week, Sunday. Next week, Friday, 10 p.m. And yeah, big up to the panels and the people who joined on. And you're always welcome back if you came and left. Have a good day. See you, everyone. Goodbye.